The winter wind clawed at the streets of Boston, pushing snow against the glass towers until the city lights blurred into soft halos. Inside the towering headquarters of Whitmore and Lane, the marble lobby gleamed with a cold perfection, polished so well it reflected every shadow like a mirror. Elena Ramirez tightened her grip on the mop, her hands raw from bleach and long shifts. Her faded uniform hung loose on her frame, and her dark hair, tied hastily into a bun, slipped free in damp strands across her forehead. She moved with quiet determination, though her body ached with the weight of exhaustion. Behind her, a soft cough broke through the silence. Elena froze, heart twisting as she turned. Her daughter, Sophia, only 6 years old, leaned weakly against the wall. 2 scarves wrapped around her small frame, but her cheeks glowed feverish red. The girl clutched a worn plush bunny close to her chest, her breath short and raspy. Elena rushed to her, kneeling, brushing strands of dark curls from Sophia's face. "Mi amor," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You promised me you would rest." Sophia looked up, her big brown eyes glassy yet stubborn. "I didn't want to be alone, Mama." Elena pressed her lips against her daughter's temple, feeling the heat burning under the skin. "I know, baby, just a little longer. Stay in the little room I made for you. No one can find you there." She guided Sophia toward the supply closet, opening the door to reveal a makeshift nest of folded blanket, a pillow, a flashlight, and a few books Elena had picked from a donation box. On top lay half a sandwich wrapped in foil. Elena forced a smile, masking the worry pressing against her ribs. "This is your secret clubhouse, remember, only for spies and brave girls." Sophia managed a faint grin. "Like a mission." "Exactly." Elena nodded, kissing her daughter's hand. "Now stay here. I'll check soon." Elena closed the door gently and leaned against it for a moment, her own chest tightening. Every night felt like a gamble. Sophia's asthma attacks had grown worse since the clinic cut hours. Without insurance, Elena had no choice but to bring her daughter along to late shifts, praying nobody noticed. She picked up her mop again, her arms moving on instinct though her mind was elsewhere. 3 more hours. Just 3 more hours until she could take Sophia home and hope the storm eased enough to reach the community doctor tomorrow. But fate did not wait. 15 minutes later, Elena returned quietly with a granola bar salvaged from the break room. She pushed open the closet door, and froze. The blanket was empty. The flashlight lay on its side. Panic surged through her chest. "Sophia," she hissed, dropping the bar, scanning the shadows. She darted into the hallway, her sneakers silent against the polished floor. Her pulse hammered, each step echoing with dread. "Please no. Please." She turned the corner, and stopped cold. At the far end of the executive corridor, bathed in the cool glow of recessed lighting, Sophia stood not alone but held carefully in the arms of a tall man. His navy suit cut sharp lines, his silver watch glinted under the lights. He bent to Sophia's height, steadying her gently. Elena's breath caught, her knees nearly buckling. The man's face, strong and familiar, pulled at memories she had buried deep. Daniel Carter. The man she once loved, the man she thought lost forever. And then it happened. Sophia, looking up at him with wide eyes, whispered one word that shattered the silence. "Daddy." Time collapsed. Elena felt the world tilt, her breath torn from her lungs. Her vision blurred as the man lifted his head slowly, stunned eyes flickering with confusion and something unspoken. His jaw slackened as he repeated the word softly, almost to himself. "Daddy." Elena's grip on the wall tightened until her knuckles whitened. 6 years of grief, of survival, of convincing herself he was gone, now unraveled in a single heartbeat. She wanted to run forward, to pull Sophia away, but her feet refused to move. Every nerve burned as Daniel's gaze lifted toward her, their eyes meeting. For a moment, she thought she saw recognition, but it was gone just as quickly, replaced by polite confusion, as though she were nothing more than a stranger. Her throat constricted. Tears pressed behind her eyes. She clamped her trembling hand over her mouth, muffling the sob threatening to escape. Daniel Carter, the man she had once planned a future with, stood alive before her. Yet he looked at her without memory, without the love that had once bound them. Sophia clung to his coat sleeve, her small voice breaking the silence again. "You look like the man in my dreams. Mama says he's not real, but I call him Daddy." Daniel blinked, startled, his hand instinctively steadying the child. Elena forced her legs forward, each step heavy with disbelief. She knelt beside her daughter, her voice soft but strained. "Sweetheart, you weren't supposed to leave the room. You scared me." Daniel straightened slowly, his expression unreadable. His voice, low and steady, carried authority yet softened at the edges. She wandered into the hall. "I was only making sure she was safe." He looked between mother and child, something flickering in his gaze, as though searching for a memory just out of reach. Elena swallowed hard, nodding. "Thank you. She's not well. I had no one to watch her tonight." Daniel's features shifted, the slightest crack in his polished demeanor. "No harm done," he said gently. But his eyes lingered on Sophia, on the resemblance that unsettled him. The girl's smile, Her eyes, something about her felt familiar, like an echo in his chest. Elena took Sophia's hand quickly, guiding her back down the hallway. She did not look back, but every step felt like walking through fire. When they reached the closet again, Sophia tugged at her mother's sleeve. Mama, he felt like home. Elena pressed her daughter's head against her chest, whispering shakily, I know baby, I know. That night Daniel Carter sat alone in his office, unable to shake the encounter. The little girl's voice, the way she had looked at him, it gnawed at him. He had only been CEO for 2 months, but nothing had unsettled him like this. He pulled up the company's employee files, his fingers hesitating before typing her name, Elena Ramirez, overnight custodian. 2 years of spotless work, no listed emergency contact, a photograph, grainy and tired, yet even there her quiet strength radiated. He leaned back, unsettled. Who was she, and why did that child's word, Daddy, echo so powerfully inside him? Meanwhile, in a run-down apartment on the edge of the city, Elena tucked Sophia into bed, pressing a cool cloth to her forehead. The child's breathing was shallow, her small body curled tight under the blankets. Elena stroked her hair, whispering prayers into the night. When Sophia finally drifted into uneasy sleep, Elena sat in the dark, her mind spinning. She had mourned Daniel for 6 long years. She had raised their daughter alone, never speaking his name. And now he was alive but changed, alive but without memory, and the secret she had guarded with every fiber of her being now trembled on the edge of discovery. The snow beat harder against the window. Elena pressed her palms together, whispering to herself, he cannot know. Not yet. Not when he looks at me like a stranger. But deep down, her heart betrayed her, beating to a rhythm she had thought long dead. She remembered his laughter, his promises, the way he once played the piano in a small seaside town where love felt eternal. She remembered the night he said he would build a life for them in Boston, and how that life had died with the crash she thought claimed him forever. And now fate had returned him, yet not the man she once knew. Outside, the city roared with the storm, but inside Elena's world, silence pressed heavy. She reached for her daughter's tiny hand, vowing to protect her no matter what came next. But in the quiet of her soul, she wondered if destiny had just begun its cruelest game, or its most merciful gift. The following morning, Daniel Carter stood at his office window, watching snow sweep across the city skyline. Sleep had evaded him, chased away by the sound of a little girl's voice calling him Daddy. It had unsettled him more than he wanted to admit. He was a man who thrived on control, on order, on logic. Yet that moment in the hallway refused to fade, replaying again and again in his mind. He saw her eyes, Sophia's eyes. Wide, full of innocence and yet too knowing for her age. Something in them pierced through the armor he had built since waking in a hospital bed 6 years earlier. After an accident he could scarcely remember. Pieces of his past were gone, wiped clean, leaving him to rebuild a life from fragments. The doctors had told him memory loss was common after trauma, that time might restore what was lost. But time had not. He had accepted it, or so he thought. Now, a child's voice had cracked open a door he believed permanently sealed. He sat heavily at his desk, pulling up the HR file again. Elena Ramirez, custodian. 2 years of late night shifts. He studied the small photo, the wary eyes, the faint grace in the curve of her mouth. She looked familiar in a way he could not place, as though he had seen her in another life. He scrolled down. No emergency contact, no past employment, just blank spaces where a life's details should be. It left him restless, hungry for answers he did not know he wanted until last night. Meanwhile across the city, Elena bundled Sophia into her coat, pulling the scarf tightly around her daughter's neck. The girl coughed into her sleeve, small shoulders shaking. Elena's chest tightened. She had promised herself she would take Sophia to the clinic today. No matter the wait, no matter the cost. But as she glanced at the empty wallet on the kitchen counter, dread coiled in her stomach. Rent was due, groceries sparse, and medicine always more expensive than she could manage. Still, she smiled for Sophia's sake, pressing a kiss to her temple. We'll get you feeling better, my vida, just hold on. Sophia leaned into her, whispering softly, Mama, is that man really my daddy? Elena froze, her hands trembling as she tied the scarf. No, sweetheart, she whispered quickly, though the words caught in her throat. You just imagined it. But Sophia shook her head, eyes wide with quiet certainty. He felt real, like my drawings. She clutched her sketchbook close, the pages filled with crayon portraits of a tall man she had never met, a man with kind eyes and a smile that seemed to belong to dreams. Elena pulled her close, swallowing tears. Some dreams aren't meant to come true, she murmured, though her heart betrayed her. That evening, fate refused to be silenced. Daniel lingered long after the building emptied, his footsteps echoing through the marble corridors. He told himself he was staying to review contracts, but his mind betrayed him, pulling him back toward the janitor's wing. He found himself pausing near the closet where he had first seen Sophia. The faint sound of humming reached his ears, soft, off-key, but achingly familiar. He followed it quietly until he found her. Sophia sat cross-legged on the floor near the supply room, crayons scattered around her. She was sketching furiously on the back of a cardboard box, tongue peeking from the corner of her mouth. Daniel crouched down slowly. "What are you drawing, Sophia?" The girl looked up, startled, then smiled brightly. "Hi, mister." She held up the picture. A little wooden house by the sea, waves crashing behind it, and 3 stick figures holding hands. One tall, one shorter, and one small between them. Daniel's breath caught. That house. He had dreamed of it. Nights filled with flashes of ocean air, laughter under starlight, the haunting echo of piano notes. Dreams so vivid they often left him shaken in the morning. And here it was, drawn by a child he barely knew. Sophia tilted her head. "Do you like it?" He nodded slowly, voice thick. "Yes, very much." At that moment, Elena appeared at the end of the hall, her bucket and mop in hand. She stopped when she saw them together, her face paling. "Sophia," she said sharply, hurrying forward. "You shouldn't be here." Sophia pouted. "But Mama, I was just showing him my house." Elena's gaze flickered to the drawing and she froze. The little wooden house, the family of 3. It was a picture she had painted 1,000 times in her mind, the life she once dreamed of with Daniel. Her stomach clenched, fear and longing twisting together. Daniel looked up at her, searching her face. She said, "It's her house, it looks familiar." His voice trailed off, hesitant. Elena forced a steady tone though her heart raced. "Children draw all kinds of things," she said quickly, taking Sophia's hand. "Come on, it's late." But Daniel stood, blocking their path gently, his eyes sharp and questioning held hers. "Elena, have we met before?" The words hung heavy in the air. Elena's breath caught, her body frozen. She wanted to deny it, to keep the fragile walls she had built from crumbling. Yet his eyes, searching and unsettled, pulled at her defenses. She whispered finally, shaking her head, "You must be mistaken." She brushed past him quickly, tugging Sophia along, her chest tight with the weight of the lie. Behind her, Daniel remained still, his mind unraveling. Something about that answer rang false, and the ache in his chest told him the truth was far more complicated. Later that night, as snow thickened against the city, Elena sat by Sophia's bedside once more, her daughter's breathing shallow and uneven. The inhaler was nearly empty, the medicine gone. Tears welled in her eyes as she pressed her lips to Sophia's forehead. She whispered to the shadows, "Please, God, don't take her from me, not after everything." Across town, Daniel sat alone in his penthouse, staring at the drawing Sophia had pressed into his hand before leaving. The wooden house, the 3 figures, the sun burning gold over the sea. He didn't know why, but as he traced the lines with his finger, a single tear slipped down his cheek. Something inside him whispered the truth he could not yet grasp, that little girl was part of him, and the woman who carried her secrets held the missing pieces of his soul. And whether Elena wanted it or not, their paths had only just begun to collide.